So the first thing that I'm going to say about this movie is that a lot of people have been accusing it of being slow. Very, very slow. And that's not true, because being slow implies that this movie actually moves and progresses somewhere. And this movie doesn't.
Well, that was a movie.
Hello and welcome back to Simon's Rants. I'm Simon, and today I'm giving my first thoughts on The Assistant. It was written and directed by Kitty Green, and it came out earlier this year, sometime in late January, and I hadn't gotten around to it until now, and I finally saw it, so here's my review. Also, spoiler warning, I'm going to get into a little bit of this plot, so if you haven't seen it yet, don't watch this review until you've seen it, or if you don't care, there's going to be a couple of spoilers. This movie didn't get a whole lot of publicity because honestly it was marketed entirely wrong. It was marketed as like a thriller, but it's more of honestly just a drama. It's a drama about sexual misconduct in the workplace, and it's not a thriller at all. There's nothing exciting or scary that happens in this movie. It's just a straightforward story. And so because of that, a lot of people were disappointed and hated the movie, but then critics came along later and said, hold on now, this movie is actually great. So that's why I'm late to this one, and I apologize. It just took me a while to realize that some critics were actually saying this movie was really good, so I should check it out, and so here's my opinion on it. So like I said, the plot of this film centers around sexual misconduct in the office space, and this office in particular is some movie business office that's in New York City. And I don't want to say that sexual misconduct isn't a big deal, especially in Hollywood, but everywhere. It definitely is, and this movie has an important message behind it, but this movie never really says anything at all. This movie represents this problem terribly. This girl never actually is able to expose her boss for having sexual misconduct with different employees because we never actually have any of it proven. It's all just ideas of it, it's implied, everybody seems to know it's happening, but you never have proof of it. So when she goes to HR about it, he reacts in the only way that he can. She doesn't have any evidence, she doesn't have any proof. All she knows is that the boss is hiring inexperienced, pretty young girls and then not being in the office at the same time that they are, or being in the office at the same time they are. And yes, the way that it's shown shows that it probably is actually happening. But there's no proof of any of it happening, and it's all just ideas that people are joking about in the office. Should people take this problem more seriously and investigate it themselves? Yeah, probably. No, scratch that, definitely, for sure. But this movie isn't a good example of that. And the rest of the so-called abuse that she receives in this office is not worthy of making a movie about, because most of it is her coworkers just being mean to her, I guess, by making her talk on the phone to people they don't want to, or not taking her seriously, or saying things sarcastically, like, excuse me for not caring about that. And yes, her boss is extremely weird. He says some weird stuff to her, and he's definitely overbearing and commanding and forces her to apologize for stuff that she said via email. It's all weird, but none of it's wrong necessarily. He definitely crossed lines and said weird things, but most of the weird things that he said were like, I'm so hard on you because you're good at your job and I want you to be great. That could be taken so many ways. Yeah, it could be creepy, but it isn't outright. I've had managers say stuff like that to me all the time, and it was never remotely creepy or out of line in any way. So yes, I know that the movie implies heavily that wrong stuff is happening, and it seems like it probably is, and I'm not saying that everything that happened in this movie was fine. But if the point of this movie was trying to say that isn't this wrong, that there's such evidence all around and nobody's doing anything, there wasn't. There wasn't all of this evidence. There wasn't this massive pile of evidence that people were just ignoring. There was a lot of weird stuff happening. There was. But there's nothing that was outright wrong. And the only thing that we almost know for a fact that happened was he had sex with a non-employee in his office. Is that weird? Is that gross? Kind of, yeah, especially since he was cheating on his wife to do it. But that's not against the law or breaking any rule. As far as I know, it isn't anyway. So, yes, no, a boss should never use sex. He should never use his power to get sex or get anything from his employees. That is against the law, and it's also abhorrent. You should never do that. But this movie is just a horrible movie at demonstrating that idea. Especially since it's so goddamn boring. I get it. I know that the pacing of this movie was so long and drawn out like that to make it feel like this is just another day in the life. This is just the humdrum. This is the boring everyday. I get it. But goddamn, this movie is boring. It's one of the most boring movies, if not the most boring movie I've ever seen. Because the whole time you're waiting for anything, literally anything to happen, happen, and nothing does. It takes an hour. We go an hour into this movie before she goes to HR about it. That means the first hour, nothing happens. This movie is 90 minutes, but it felt like it was 5 years. I can't express how bad this movie was. I get the idea. I get the idea that they were going for, and it's a good thing that more people need to make movies about. We need to talk about this more. This needs to be a fixed issue in this country as well as the rest of the world. We need to fix this problem. But this movie did not raise awareness even, because this movie probably killed more people from boredom than anything. So I know this was short, but that's all you can say about this. It's not a good movie. This movie was beyond boring. It wasn't slow. Nothing happened. And trust me, I like slow movies. I've got a good taste in movies. I know what makes a good movie good. This movie was not good at all. It wasn't. So if you want to complain about it with me, go ahead and leave your comment in the comments below. And of course, don't forget to like, share, and if you're new here, subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.